Hey everybody, this is Bill Zunkin from Art School Records. In case you lost track of the days, it is Thursday, so sit back and relax. You're very likely on your own couch. Hello. Hey everybody. Yeah, it's Bill Zunkin from Art School Records. I am not at Project 4 Studios. I am not with Raz. Raz and I are socially distanced. No, I'm recording this for you at the humble apartment that I keep in Echo Park with my wonderful wife Aubrey and our famous cat Magellan. And we do not own a cone of silence. So if you happen to hear like a refrigerator or a cat meowing or the next door neighbors like doing gymnastics or, some lunch being made or whatever, them's the breaks. Because the world went sideways, ladies and gentlemen. Not that I need to tell any of you, our listeners, you're all hip people out in the world. And I will tell you, though, that Raz and I, as podcasters, we were a little bit stumped at first. Well, not stumped, spooked. We canceled a bunch of interviews and, the studio got shut down. So we haven't been able to tape anything until now. It took us a little while to figure out, both technically and philosophically, how the podcast was going to move forward. But we feel as though we've answered those questions for ourselves. We hope we've done so adequately for you, our listeners. And, for all of you who have patiently been waiting and, buying the album that I put out and just continuing to show us love online and stuff, we really appreciate it. You're the reason we're coming back. Not everybody is surviving this thing. And not to make light of it, but it's nice when something continues to work, and we think we're going to continue to work. So thank you to all our friends, family, and fans. Thank you to our listeners. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a phone check-in with me and with Raz and with a couple of other artists, and I'm going to jump in once or twice more, but I know that this is already coming off like a voicemail that I leave for people, which is to say that it's long and rambling, and it doesn't get to the point soon enough, and I'll repeat myself. So, whatever. I don't know. It's just, this is me without Raz editing. Sorry. So, maybe in that light, we should just jump on ahead and get into some green couch time. Here's a conversation between me and Raz.
Hey man, give me a second to plug in my headset. You there?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little muffled.
Oh, am I better now? Just better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you know how to tie a perfect knot?
Throw your headphones in your pocket.
Exactly. No, I've been existing on breath mints and bourbon for about 4 weeks now. So.
Whoa.
Emergencies.
And boy, does his breath smell like something.
Like something, It's that age-old question: does the breath mint come first and then the booze, or are you having a breath mint after the booze? Yeah, I don't know.
Yikes!
It's all the same. It's all the same. It's either like a minty bourbon or a bourbony mint. Pick your poison. Pick your poison.
So, is that kind of emblematic of how social distancing has been for you in general, Raz?
Pretty much. I'm a couple of days away from 1 month. So, you know, I'm actually I'm in the fifth stage of grief. I'm in acceptance.
Very good.
So, I kind of gave up. Kind of just walk around in my underpants in circles for about 8 hours, contemplating what I'm going to do with my life. So,
Well, I mean, last time I either Aubrey or I spoke to you, you had gotten a cat. Is that right?
A cat, yes, a cat. Not uncommon. That one of my other jobs is we have a retail shop for pets. It's called California Calico. I'm going to just pump it. So in the neighborhood, the shop is known for being pet friendly. And it's not uncommon throughout the years to have people just walk in and drop an animal off because, they don't want to take it to the pound or whatever, or they find an animal and then just give it to us because the shop has a way of networking people. I mean, not people. We have a way of networking found animals. So this is like day 2 of quarantine, and a friend of ours was walking his dog. I've nicknamed his dog Albie, the racist pit bull. That's a whole nother story. But Albie's like Albie's a good dog. He has his preferences. So Albie saw this kitten and decided it was snack time. So our friend, who likes cats, could not keep a cat because Albie would kill it. So didn't know what to do. He was walking by the shop and he just kind of knocked on the door and he said, "I don't know what to do. Here's this kitten." And at first, it's the apocalypse. How do you network a cat in the apocalypse? People were saying, "Oh, you got to make sure you stay away from your pets and stuff like that." So at first we thought we were going to keep the cat and he'd just be the shop cat. We had recently lost.
I liked this idea, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was a good idea, and the cat was really cool. Because we just lost our shop dog, which is why we couldn't have a shop cat previously. But it just seemed like it was just the universe saying that it was time to have a shop cat, which is fine. So, as you know, I know nothing about raising a cat, judging by the phone call when I was at the pet store trying to find cat food. I was lost. It was like walking into a record store and all the records were just labeled jazz. So I got lost. I don't know what to do. I literally walked around because I texted you at first. And I was just walking in circles in this pet store wearing a mask and gloves and social distancing from everybody else that was walking in with masks and gloves, and I had no idea what was going on. But anyways, the cat was going to be there, and we were going through the process of naming the cat. You had submitted a name. I had submitted a name. Both of those names got rejected, and the name of the cat was just Ziggy. So,
I give it a 6.
It was
not a bad name, but I felt like Pork Chop was a much stronger contender.
I was voting for Pork Chop as well. But this is the weird thing about the name. Completely random name. Just, my partner blurted out. She said Ziggy, and that's the cat's name. Okay, great. So I was texting another friend of mine. I was doing kind of like a soft, "Hey man, anybody needs a cat?" It's kind of like trying to sell like Girl Scout cookies. "Hey man, anybody's interested in Girl Scout cookies?" Everybody's like, eh. So I was texting him pictures of the cat, and he's allergic. He's like, "I don't want any cats." But he's like, "Oh, let me see." And the cat was really cute, as you saw some of the photos. And so my last thing I texted to him is like, "Oh, we named the cat Ziggy." And I don't hear from him because we were chatting back and forth. I don't hear from him for a while. About 4 hours later, I get a text going, "I need to talk to you about Ziggy. There's a universal connection here." Okay, right? So I talked to him the next day. And while I was texting him pictures of the cat, he was actually in a virtual AA meeting on Zoom. And apparently he brings up that, "Hey, buddy, my buddy's looking for someone to take the cats." And people are like, "Oh, whatever." He was telling me that in this meeting, they were talking about this guy named Ziggy. apparently this guy named Ziggy was a big deal in this community because he helped tons of people. He helped tons of people with addiction. Apparently, he was kind of the mayor of this particular AA group, and when people would come in, he would give them the nicknames based on his first impression, and he was always there for everybody. And he was like a beloved character, and everybody knew Ziggy. Everybody loved Ziggy because Ziggy helped so many people out. And about a year ago, Ziggy, who was 55, just dropped dead. His heart gave away, and he just dropped dead. And so during this meeting, everybody was talking about Ziggy and how they wished Ziggy would be back in their lives somehow, and how he helped everybody. Meanwhile, my buddy's like, "Hey, who wants a cat?" And when I texted him, I didn't know at the time he was at the meeting. I texted him, the cat's name is Ziggy. Apparently, he said, "Guys, I think I found Ziggy."
That'll
When he told
put
him
the
the story,
brakes on a situation real fast.
right? So apparently there was somebody in this group that was good friends with the human Ziggy, and he was really close. And when he found out that there was a kitten named Ziggy, he also had a 15-year-old cat, and he and his wife had been talking about possibly getting a new kitten. So when this all came about, that Ziggy had manifested as a kitten and was just kind of lost, this guy called me the next day. I was telling him about the cat. He's like, "I'll be up in about a half an hour to get the cat." I was like, "Well, don't you want to know anything about it?" He's like, "How old is he?" He's like 5 weeks. He's like, "Great, I'm going to come up and get the cat." And it was because he just wanted to have a manifestation of Ziggy in his life. So he and his wife and his daughter pull up, and we're doing a social distancing. We have the cat out in the crate. In the back, he comes out and
leave the cat halfway out. I'll drop the money. We'll make the
right?
exchange.
Yeah, it was very much like a drug deal. But it was very sweet because he opened the crate and Ziggy just jumped into his arms, and he just sat there and he held Ziggy, and he's like, "Okay." I'm about to cry. He's about to cry. His daughter showed up. She was about to cry. He's like, "Is there anything else?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Do you want anything?" I was like, "No, go ahead." So Ziggy and this guy found each other, and he just got in his car and went home and sent me a text the next day that Ziggy's fitting in great. And it's that weird karmic thing, the universe or whatever you want to call it. This guy had been searching for Ziggy, and it turns out that he came back as a kitten lost in an alley in North Hollywood, and somehow he got reconnected with his buddy.
Stranger than fiction.
Right? So there you go.
Yeah, these are weird times, my friend.
These are weird times. This morning I got up, was at the shop, and I opened the door, and there was a large human poop right in front of the door.
Not as cute as a kitten by a long shot.
Right. So we're kind of running the gamut here, like emotionally. I'm having like all the feels about the cat, and 2 days later, I'm washing bum poop off of my front stoop. So
I don't know what to say.
Really, right? Yeah, like you don't know what to say. And there's just a giant log of human feces right in front of the door. Like I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay. All right. I mean, the world keeps turning.
Yeah.
As Aubrey and I and Magellan, the famous cat, have been stuck inside. Aubrey has taken to playing the video game Minecraft with our nephew Cash, because there's a way that you can play it together over the internet. And one of the sort of idiosyncrasies of Minecraft is that anytime you open the game up on the computer, it'll have like some weird sort of tagline, like a promo for another game, or like an inside joke, or a reference to SpongeBob or something like that. It's just like it's like a goofy little free spot under the title of the game that changes every time you open it. But now that the mandatory social distancing and self-isolation and all that stuff has been going down around the planet, the game has taken to changing all of those little phrases to COVID-19 related things. So they'll say, don't touch your face, wash your hands, thank you medical workers. Some of the one, or stay inside and play games. But
Right.
the one that I really love the most is gamers unite separately at your own homes.
I know.
And this has been kind of the experience of the last few weeks. Is I'm noticing an odd togetherness through all of this separation.
Yes.
And I have been going around making phone calls to friends of the pod and checking in with them. And so we're gonna hear from a few of those people today.
Great.
Similar to the way that you and I are catching up now and hearing about your poop stoop and your and your Ziggy goes. Yeah. Have you been creative? Have you been keeping up with our friend the Russian?
Yes, actually, she made it out of Moscow and is now in what used to be Stalingrad. It's called Volgograd. She's in Stalingrad, which is a much nicer place. Apparently, Moscow is insane. So, but yeah, we've been communicating and we've been trying to work on some music, using Skype and Zoom. I think I convinced her to do a Springsteen cover. So we'll see how that turns out.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and it's true. And it's been like, it's been a weird, I'm glad, first of all, I'm glad you contacted friends of the podcast. I felt really bad that we haven't done a podcast. Just for the people listening, you were the one that had initiated it, because I am 3 steps away from Unabomber status right now. I haven't been really talking to a lot of people.
Well,
so,
honestly, all credit should go to Autumn Whitaker, a.k.a. Hawk Percival, because, she reached out to the record label side of things and was asking about possibly promoting on the podcast a single that they have coming out tomorrow on Friday the 10th. That would be Hawk Percival and Friends. They've got a new single coming out. And then I kind of, after talking with her about it, I said, well, why don't we just get on the phone and tape it and see what happens? And that led me to kind of looking around, and I realized, oh, Boy Deluxe has got a single coming out the same day. Oh, Canyon Counterpoint has got one coming out the following week. Me, personally, just on the side, I put out a record 2 weeks ago. I've got another one coming out on Sunday. The way things are going now, it's just interesting. There is going to be a distinct line in the sand once we get past art that was already captured and created and ready to be released ahead of all this and then released into this ecosystem. It's going to be really interesting to hear from people who have been making art within this ecosystem.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's important that we get back up on our old podcast horse and, talk to people and figure out what's going on with them and what their art looks like now that times have changed so drastically, so fast.
Yeah.
One of the things I was asking a lot of people was, and I'm curious to hear what you think of this, have you been watching any of these live streamed concerts or performances?
I have not.
Any particular reason? No interest? I mean, if you'd rather be watching Star Trek, that makes sense.
I haven't. I just have been. I've been looking a little bit more inward than I think I should be. So honestly, I don't know where the days go, and I haven't been really. Like, I joke that I never leave this room, but at certain points, it almost seems like that. So I haven't been watching a lot of anything. I mean, obviously, like Tiger King, right? But I don't know. I just don't know where sometimes I don't know where the day goes. Like I've been playing a lot of guitar and doing that type of stuff. So it's more of like, as opposed to like watching art, I've been kind of, or watching other things, I've been kind of self-medicating with art, if that makes any sense.
Oh, I thought you were going to say with mouthwash.
With mouthwash. No, right. Well, I guess when I'm out of bourbon, mouthwash is next. No, but I've been like self-medicating with music, Okay. Like I've been just going back and listening. I've been listening to a lot of stuff and going back into listening to things, taking my acoustic and just walking around holding my acoustic, playing whatever comes to my head. One of the reasons why I talked to Chris about doing a Springsteen cover was I decided I was just going to revisit Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Mm.
And, I was never a big Springsteen fan, but I listened to Darkness on the Edge of Town, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a record.
Right. And it did remind me of a lot of you. There's a lot of, you and Springsteen share a lot of similarities as far as songwriters, to me, I think. The different genres, but there's qualities. But anyways, that's what I've been doing. I've just been kind of self-medicating as opposed to looking outward to watching other art. I suppose it's, as opposed to looking for something for inspiration, I've been just looking inward for salvation, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah. Well, Raz, I'm really glad to be able to get to catch up with you, and I think it would be in our best interest for us to make a regular practice of this.
Yes. Yeah, when we're done with this call, we'll talk about that.
Well, Raz, we've got a couple of singles from artists that they've kindly sent over to us, so we'll be giving our listeners an advance listen to some of those things. They'll be able to hear them about a day earlier than some of these things are coming out. And I don't know, man. It's just like let's keep in touch. Let's
figure this out.
Podcasters unite separately in your own homes.
Yes, let's figure this out.
Hey everybody, Bill here again. The first interview we're going to hear today is the one that I did with Autumn Whitaker of Hawk Percival. Her and her band have got a new single coming out on Friday the 10th called I Might Be Dead. But first, I need to tell you that today's episode is brought to you in part by Patchwork Cables, the Los Angeles-based musical instrument cable company that specializes in pro-quality instrument cables as well as microphones and patch cords. Their braided cables are made with Mogami cables and Nutric plugs, which basically means it's some high-quality stuff, folks. The jack plugs on these things are like the size of a gorilla thumb. They are heavy-duty. They don't wear down. Raz told me his has been plugged in since he started self-isolating on March 11th, and he has been able to practice social distancing with his amplifier the entire time without losing without losing any fidelity in the sound of his Les Paul. I've got one now as well. It features prominently in what friends of mine dubbed the Pile, my home studio. And, I got to tell you, folks, given the opportunity, I wouldn't go back and use another type of cable in my life. So we'd like to say thank you to Patchwork Cables, and Patchwork Cables would like to say thank you to you. So they're offering On the Green Couch listeners a special discount. If you go to patchworkcables.com and use the code GREENCOUCH at checkout, you get 10% off. So if you're looking to support a small local-owned business in these tough times and you happen to be or know a musician who could use some new cables, check out patchworkcables.com. Tell them the Green Couch folks sent you. All right, let's give a listen to I Might Be Dead by Hawk Percival and friends.
try. I'll feel it over, babe. I felt nothing for a very long time. I was in love, but now I feel nothing. I might be dead, but I have a lot of love. Hey,
Hey, Autumn.
how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm good. As good as you can be during these weird times.
During these quarantine times.
Yeah, exactly.
So, thanks for sending us the new tune. We're,
Of course.
based on circumstances. It's just me this afternoon or morning. I know both
Yeah.
you and I had a late night last night. What have you been What have you been doing to occupy your time?
I've just been working on new tracks that I guess I'll just release because what can you do right now? But I've been working on that and I've been cooking a lot because that's another quarantine activity.
Cooking anything good?
Nothing like special, just like normal things. I did make like a crazy roast chicken
Did
and it was really good.
you say a crazy roast chicken or a
Like
caprese?
crazy good.
Oh,
Like
okay. I thought you said
crazy good, yeah.
caprese roast chicken, like it
No, oh my
had like
God.
mozzarella and tomatoes in it or something. Like,
No, I can't have cheese, but that does sound good.
okay. So you sent us over this new song, and it's called "I Might Be Dead." What, could you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit? Could you tell me and the listeners a little bit about what you prefaced the song to me earlier this week with?
Yeah, well, I might be dead. It's a joke, but it's kind of real because I always joke about being like dead inside, like especially with my therapist. And I wrote this like a year ago, like after a conversation with my therapist. But it's about just like having a rough life or just having like depression in general, but still like willing to give like all you have to give,
Hmm.
and having like a lot to offer. And like specifically for me, this is just about like intimate situations because I like to be alone. I'm an Aquarius. I like to be by myself. And so I wrote this to kind of like as a pep talk to myself to remind myself like, yeah, I went through all this stuff and I do feel like gloomy most of the time, but like it doesn't mean I can't have a chance at like connection?
Yeah. Clearly, it's working out in some capacity. You got some other people to play the tune with you.
Yeah, totally. No, I love my
The
band, but like
friends.
more in like a deeper intimate, not like a friend, like platonic intimate way.
The sort of more constructive elements of the song, it's, kind of in keeping with things that you had already been doing. It's got this kind of retro rock 70s, glam adjacent vibe to it, but this
Yeah.
sounds different than some of the I don't know, some of your earlier recordings were really lo-fi. This feels like very studio. I don't want to say
Yeah.
indulgent, but it feels
It's okay if you
like you
do.
really used the studio in creating this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I want, honestly, because before I just didn't have the resources to get like the sound I have now. So I had to kind of just work with what I had.
Yeah.
But that's the sound I want all the time. So like now I'm lucky to like have the resources where I can have that be a consistent thing. And I also just found like a great mixer. His name is Nicholas Essig, and he's really why it sounds like that.
Is that somebody who works at the studio, or is he a
He
freelance engineer?
works from like he's freelance, and I know he works from East West Studios too. But I recorded it at Gold Diggers, and that's why the sound quality is like so fucking good. But it's also because of my mixer.
Maybe a month or two ago, you had made some allusion to me personally online that there was going to be some synthesizers on this song, and I heard them almost immediately when the track kicked in.
Yeah,
Has there been another member of the band, or was that something that you played on the track?
that
Or
was my like the intro and the verses are my guitar player, and I'm the choruses and the outro and like small accents. And we both kind of came up with that. Like I originally had organ sounds planned out,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had the idea to be like, no, let's use like fucking old school, like weird synths. Like I was playing a Roland Jupiter and he was playing a Moog, like it's one of the mono synth Moog, sub 37, I think.
Okay.
He was playing that, but it was his idea to switch from organ to synth
Yeah.
to give it that like glam, like over the top feeling.
A really buzzy tone that the Moogs always have.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's really great. I'm glad that you guys are still managing to be productive and to have had enough time in the studio before all the lockdowns went into effect that you could
Yes.
offload this to an engineer and then, be developing, some tunes. Is this going to be the kind of a lead single to a complete record, or is this a standalone piece?
Yeah, it's going to be on my album that I don't know now because of everything that's happening. I wanted to be in the studio now so I could have something by summer, but it's going to be here eventually. But my album is going to be called Well Dressed and Depressed. And I might be dead is from that.
Yeah, what do you obviously, you can't predict how things are all going to pan out. But as I'm
Yeah.
listening to this song, it sounds like, the end builds up this crescendo that it cuts. Is this somehow part of like a suite of songs where it's going to have like kind of like an El Dorado or like Dark Side of the Moon kind of like flow
El
between
Dorado.
songs? Or is this
Kind of. Like it definitely is like thematic, like tonally, but I like to switch up my endings. Like I do like abrupt endings, but then like some of them have like jam out endings and like,
Mhm.
I like to switch it up.
Well, I hope to get to hear some of the stuff that you're working on as you're, cooped up in your own home. You're
Yeah.
in Pasadena now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Pasadena. I love my place. I moved here like beginning of March.
Oh, so just in time to have like a
Yeah,
lot of
just in
interior
time.
decorating to be doing or something now.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I've been like saving like weird home projects like on my phone because what can you do?
True. Well, Autumn, thank you so much for dropping by on the virtual green couch.
Of course.
And
Thanks for having me.
when does the single come out?
It's coming out on the 10th, so that's like in 3 days.
Right. And when
Friday.
Friday,
Yeah.
April 10th. And where will people
Yes.
be able to hear that? On all of the things?
Spotify, yeah, all the things.
What do you use as a distro service? Do you use like TuneCore or DistroKid
I
or
use I use DistroKid. I used to have TuneCore, but I don't really like that honestly. You know, but I use DistroKid for now.
Okay. So it's coming out on Spotify. You'll be able to hear it on all the digital platforms with
Yeah.
an album sometime in the future to follow up
Sometime in the
with.
future, I am gonna put out like singles that are standalone.
Hmm.
Until then, and I might put out a mini album of just like random songs, but they're all connected, but it has nothing to do with like my full album.
A lot of people are probably trying to come up with new plans now that all
Yeah,
of their
right.
prior plans have been hijacked by COVID-19.
I know it's a shame, but whatever. Like artists, I feel like we work from home anyway, so at least I can still work, but it sucks for the people who like work in offices and shit.
All right. Well, Autumn, thank you so very much for stopping by on the virtual green couch. It's great to get to hear your voice and to catch up. And
Aw.
we're looking forward to the single coming out on the 10th. You can hear it everywhere and the eventual album to follow. And
Yes, thank you so much.
as they say now, instead of goodbye, stay safe.
Yes, stay safe.
This next interview is with Alex Rose of Canyon Counterpoint.
Hi.
Hey, Alex.
What's up, Bill?
Nothing much. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm eating some peanut butter.
Oh, good. That's
In
perfect
quarantine.
for an audio conversation.
Yeah, totally. Really wets the whistle.
How has the quarantine been for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I feel very bonded with my cat.
You feel bonded?
I feel like my cat and I are closer than ever.
My wife has been saying the same thing.
About the cat or about you and
About,
in your
oh no,
relationship?
her and the cat. Me, I'm like the third wheel. The cat's over the moon, ecstatic that like everybody's home all the time now.
Totally. My cat's always living the shelter-in-place lifestyle. And like now I'm doing it with her.
So
I'm doting on her every move.
you've got a new single coming out, don't you?
I do. So a couple weeks ago, Bandcamp was doing that thing to try to help artists out who've lost gigs or whatever just due to the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a song out on my Bandcamp like 3 weeks ago, and it's going to finally come out on Spotify next week.
Oh, that's great. What was the name of the song?
It's called 1 Week in a Life.
1 Week in a Life.
And it's totally like that whole release is totally a byproduct of the quarantine for sure. Like I painted the album cover, just like painting as like a creative expression to feel less insane alone in your apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that whole thing was kind of a byproduct of the quarantine or the social distancing, I'll say. And yeah, I'm excited for it to come out on Spotify because I feel like a lot of people listen to music that way and they'll add it to their playlists, and that'll be cool.
And is this a solitary song?
It's one, yeah, I'm just doing a single. And it'll be like I think it's the 5th Canyon Counterpoint song that I'm releasing. So I'm just like slowly releasing song by song this album. And my friend Whitney is releasing some music. Her band is really great too. It's called They Live. And she's releasing a music video next week. So we're going to put together this little variety hour on Instagram Live, have like a stand-up comic and maybe a poet do something, and then just friends from like different cities like play a song or two. And
yeah,
it's cool. It's like it's like the one thing that's kind of rad about all of this is like I can play a show with my friend who's in West Texas, or I can play a show with my friend who's in New York, and we can all play this thing at the same time. That's kind of cool.
What do you make of the whole? I mean, it's very quickly become the paradigm, the live streamed show, and what you're doing sounds like a bit of an innovation as opposed to somebody just setting up the iPhone in portrait mode and strumming an acoustic guitar out to the interwebs. This sounds like you guys are kind of taking it another step and introducing, like you called it a variety show.
Totally.
Do you see this as being in conversation? I mean, it's a very short time to have been having the, shall we say, social discussion, but do you feel as though this is in conversation with that?
I do. I mean, I have I've enjoyed watching them a lot. Like I've found them to be this kind of like unbridled, chaotic creativity Like they're all so weird. Nobody feels super comfortable in that medium yet. And so there's just, it's kind of like ripe for innovation, I think. I love it because I think that it's actually it's really friendly for people who would attend the show, like for a band's fans, because they're on Instagram anyway, and they can just sort of toggle over to this thing. It's really like, I was telling my friend Whitney, I was like, there's an opportunity here because everyone is on this platform already. You don't physically have to commute yourself to the show. And especially if you kind of open up to like 8 or 10 performers who are going to like each do 5 minutes of the thing. Like you have so many more opportunities to see or discover something new, maybe feel more connected, maybe see an old friend in the chat box. Like, you never really know what's going to happen with these things. And I'm excited about that. So I think, this is our way of just kind of maintaining like a sense of community.
And what day is this show scheduled for?
The show is on Saturday, April 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
And where should people go to find it when it goes up and it's live and it's active?
You can go to @AlexRoseBB, my Instagram page.
Okay, so they'll be able to jump into the stream from your Insta page.
Yep.
And you have the single coming out the day before will be released onto Spotify.
Exactly.
On the 17th, but it's already out one week in a lifetime. Is that what it's called?
It's called 1 Week in a Life, and yeah, it's out on my Bandcamp page. So Alex Rose BB, Bandcamp, BB like baby, but the internet. Which I think what I said the last time I was on your show. And yeah, it's on Bandcamp, but it'll be on like Spotify and Apple Music and like all of the like sort of wider digital platforms next Friday, the 17th.
That's great. And what you said, you've been enjoying watching a lot of these streamed performances. Were there any that come to mind that were standouts?
Yeah, I there's this band called Ian Sweet, and she went live on her page and then had like other musicians jump in onto the video. So like Whitmer Thomas came on and like did a funny song, and it was like him performing in his living room and then like her dancing in her living room to this music. I was like, this is cool. There's like something weird happening here,
Yeah.
Like it is a sign of our times. Like, am I saying I want every show forever to be this format? No, but I'm saying, we can innovate on this medium for now, at least.
That's great. Well, Alex Rose of Canyon Counterpoint, thank you so much for jumping in on the virtual couch stream thing.
You got it. Thank you so much for calling.
And
it's wonderful to check in.
I hope you continue to do well. And we'll go out with listening to a little bit of your new single.
Amazing. Thanks,
Awesome.
Bill.
Talk to you soon,
Take
Alex.
care.
Adios.
Okay. Bye.
All right, and now to end out the show, we got a call coming in from Hope and Drew, formerly Ever So Android. Now you'd know them as Boy Deluxe.
Hi.
Hello, Hope.
Hello, Bill. What's crappening?
Nothing much. Am I talking to both of you or just one of you?
You are on speakerphone currently.
Awesome. How you guys doing?
Yeah, it's okay. How are you?
That's the question everybody asks, and the answer I keep giving is I don't know. How good am I supposed to be right now? It's kind of bananas, right?
No, it's totally bananas. Yeah, that's how I feel. It's like sometimes it's fine, and I'm like, I got this. And then other times I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But it's clearly just is what it is, and it's going to be like this for a while. So what can you do?
Well, you guys seem to be managing all right. I mean, you've got a single coming out. This will air Thursday, and so you've got a single coming out tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah.
On Friday.
Wait. Oh yes, because today is Thursday.
I know. We're playing time
I
travel
understand
games.
what's happening now. Yeah, we're doing all right. I mean, we thought about not releasing for a second. We were like, should we hold off? And that seemed stupid. It's like, why not? Who cares? So yeah, putting this song out and then thinking about the next song we're going to release and how we're going to do that from quarantine.
And you guys had Bait was already kind of scheduled to be released when it did come out a few weeks ago, the video and the single. I assume that was all sort of in the pipeline already when you guys decided to pull the trigger on that.
Exactly.
And so what song is it that's coming out now?
This song is called Beginning of the End. And it's a song that's completely different from our last single, Bait. But it's a song that we really care about and we're really excited and proud of.
Is this all part of some larger plan that you guys had already laid out, or is this in any way something that's been like a reaction to the situation?
No, it's part of a bigger picture.
This one was planned. The first 4 were planned. We were trying to do every month, and then this one got thrown off a little bit because of the COVID thing. And then for whatever reason, we just changed the whole bunch of next releases. We're just, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was part of a bigger plan. We didn't release it because the COVID
I just
thing
meant there
happened.
was more part. The plan was bigger, and then now it got derailed, and now we're just going to put different stuff out because we've been writing a lot. And I don't know.
And is all right. So the song, the song's creation was not necessarily
It's
a response, but the application of it seems to be.
Yeah. I mean, almost more so for our friend Bill that died too, which is like a different one, obviously. But
Yeah, I'm not dead.
Good. But no, I mean, it's like it all kind of works together really weird. And the song's called Beginning to End, which is a weird. It was already named and the video was already done and everything before all of this happened. You know,
It seems a little
but
coincidental.
we were already planning on putting it out. So.
And can you guys tell us a little bit about what is the video coming out the same day as the song?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And can you guys tell us a little bit about what viewers and listeners and fans of yours should be expecting? I mean, I know you described it as being slower and kind of a different feel than Bait, but is it representing any other sort of change? Is this part of a trajectory of songwriting of yours, or?
I would say so. Yeah, we felt that Bait was a really good bridge between leaving Ever So Android and entering Boy Deluxe. And this song, Beginning of the End, we wrote maybe 8 months ago when we first moved into the home that we're now living in. And it just kind of fell out of us. But it was, when it came out, we were like, oh, this is very much Boy Deluxe. So it's different in the way that it's a down tempo song, that it's vibier in a completely different way, and in a mellow, laid back sort of way, a little bit. I mean, Bait's creepy, and this one's creepy in a different way, but it's just mellower. It's not a banger, quote unquote.
Do you guys have? I know that there was a show of yours that was scheduled at the Resident downtown that that got canned because of the outbreak. Do you have
We had
any intention?
Three shows got canceled.
Three
That was
shows.
one of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any intentions to put on one of these streaming performances?
Yeah.
Well, we got asked to do one called Uncanceled Fest, maybe. But we're just waiting for more details on it.
And if you were to put on one of these streaming sets, do you have any idea? I know that one of the other artists we interviewed for this was talking about how she's performing as a part of a variety show. Well, there will be like comedy and music and like one-act plays or something. And as this has really quickly become sort of like a paradigm. It's interesting to see how people are sort of like taking it and reinterpreting it. If you are going to perform at Uncanceled Fest or whatever, incarnation of the streaming performance, do you guys have any sort of plans as to what that might look like, or any thoughts and ideas about how it has looked in other people's performances so far?
Well, fortunately for us, our bass player and other synth player lives with us, so we can we've been practicing as a three-piece, like just kind of broken down sets, like some synths and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's wildly different, but also I have to say it's been like affecting our writing and everything. I don't know how long this will go on for, and I don't know how much this might be a part of the next few months of our lives, like people doing shows online. You know what I mean? Because I have no idea what it's going to look like after this, or it just developed into this whole thing that we're completely unprepared for. So we've just kind of been exploring what that looks like for us.
And you guys, since you mentioned the writing, Drew, you especially have a reputation of being something of a rather prodigious writer. Do you have any sort of, are you noticing in yourself any distinct changes?
Yeah, well, we
Totally.
had all these songs, like, I mean, just literally dozens of songs of like sketches of songs we've been working on, this one, and then finishing that one up, and then working on the next one, and then I don't know, in the last like week we've just literally just thrown them all out the window and just been like writing a song every day somehow, and they're just kind of more, they just fit the vibe of what's happening more. It's like we feel like those other things, they fit into a different world before this. And now we're like stuck in this world, and this just everything feels different, and the inspiration's different. And
It's hard to write high energy songs when this is what's going on. And we're also kind of mourning the loss of a very close friend of ours. So everything that's coming out is
a little more heart-wrenching.
Yeah, a little more heart-wrenching. Just kind of like sad, slower songs. Because I know live we have this like high energy set, and we sat down, and honestly, Bill, we tried to like finish these songs that we've been working on before all this shit hit the fan, and we can't finish them because it's like I'm not in that place. I'm not in a high energy place. There's no energy. I can't draw on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
So we're just writing kind of like slow, sad, really weird songs. It's just getting weird.
And at the risk of prying or delving, I mean, I know that from my own personal perspective, I've seen allusions to this friend of yours that you lost. Would you care to speak a little bit more on who Bill was?
Yeah. Bill Rieflin, he was a multi-instrumentalist, but he was mostly known for drumming with bands like Ministry, and he worked with King Crimson. He was working with them at the end. He drummed for REM for like 10 years. I mean, he'd even played with people like, I know he worked on Trent Reznor's stuff. He's played with Patti Smith, like Swans, his own project in the 80s called The Blackouts. Like, Bill was
amazing.
He was legit.
No, and he did shit with like Joe Biafra and Ian MacKaye.
Everybody. Yeah, he was in it.
The coolest shit.
But we knew him because obviously he was a Seattle dude and we were a Seattle band, and way back when, in like 2016, we were making a full-length album. We got put in touch with Bill, and we very quickly realized we were kindred. Like, we were all just the same kind of ridiculous person, and just made this record and fell in friend love when we were in the studio and
He
just
played some shows with us on bass.
yeah. And when I would go back to Seattle, I had limited time, but I would always make sure that I saw Bill. You know what I mean? He was just
He'd been struggling with cancer forever, if that wasn't.
yeah. So he was incredibly important in the direction of our band. And truth be told, we wouldn't be named Boy Deluxe if it wasn't for him. Like he had a heavy hand in our development as artists, and there's literally nobody in the world who will ever be like Bill Reflame. And he was a fucking nutball, and he was like my favorite person in the world. Like, and everything seems a little bit more boring now that he's dead. He just brought this like ridiculous energy to the world. It was awesome. But yeah, it sucks that he died. On the other hand, he wasn't himself, and he was struggling, and it was time. Plus, if I had the option, I'm not sure I would want to live through all this either. If I was in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Hope and Drew, I'm so terribly sorry for your loss. But I do appreciate you taking time to come on the virtual Green Couch and tell us a little bit more about your upcoming projects. It sounds like you guys, despite all that's going on, are continuing to make headway.
I mean, what else are we gonna do?
Fair enough. When the singles and everything are being released, where should fans and listeners and viewers go to check things out?
Everywhere they already are going to listen to the music.
Yeah, Spotify and YouTube. But we always put like a link tree in our Instagram so they can just go to that and if they want.
But we'll be on all of the major streaming services.
Great, and that's at Boy Deluxe.
All
right. Well, Hope and Drew, thank you guys very much. And as we say, instead of goodbye now, stay safe.
All right. Stay safe, Bill.
Awesome. Adios. On the Green Couch is a production of Art School Records in conjunction with Project 4 Studios in Burbank, California. Today's episode featured appearances from everybody's favorite three-letter word, Raz, Hope and Drew of Boy Deluxe, Autumn Whitaker of Hawk Percival and Friends, and Alex Rose of Canyon Counterpoint. Today's episode was also brought to you in part by Patchwork Cables, the Los Angeles area's #1 source for musical instrument cables and supplies. We have returned, we shall return again. Tune back in this coming Thursday and jump back in on your own couch. We're so happy that we have our friends and fans and family around to lend your ears in this continuing project. I'm Bill Zunkin. Catch you next time.